The Fest of Brilliance Rerun banners of version 1.2 have provided a unique opportunity for players to obtain Laevatain and Gilberta in case they missed them in version 1.0 or trying to get them for the first time, but choosing one of them in case you cannot afford both can be a very tough decision, especially for low spenders or even free-to-play, which is where I come in. In today's video, I'm going to break down the value that these two units can provide to your account in terms of ease of playstyle, quality of life traits, team building, their builds, and supportive capabilities. I'm not going to cover Ardelia and Pogranishnik on the Fest of Brilliance banner because they are standard units that you can easily obtain, and Ardelia was given for free after all. The rules of headhunting for this banner is basically the same as what we have for the limited time banners, but it has some small differences. Pulling 30 times on the Fest of Brilliance banner will give you a 10 pull that you can use to pull on the same banner, but the 10 pull does not count towards the 120 pull guarantee for a 6-star character. If you also perform 60 pulls, you get 10 pulls that you can use on the standard banner, and this can only be obtained once per account. Performing 120 pulls also guarantees you a free 6-star selector for a character on the Fest of Brilliance banner. And if you pull for 240 times, you get to choose a free 6-star duplicate of a character that is on the Fest of Brilliance banner. And keep in mind that it has to be a character that you own on the Fest of Brilliance banner. And that's pretty much it. So let's start with Laevatain. She's by far the best wide area of effects damage dealer in the game in terms of playstyle, and I know Fang Yi mains are probably gonna jump me in the comment section, but let me explain. Laevatain is the go-to unit if you're more interested in wide area of effects damage dealing capabilities with an ease of playstyle, and that's very important. Her access to easily accessible teammates such as Antao, Akakuri, and Wolfguard makes her gameplay much easier and simpler compared to more recent AoE DPS units. She needs to absorb heat inflictions with her final strike to use a more powerful battle skill that does more damage in her ultimate state or helps her recover energy in her normal state. Now, all of her easily accessible teammates can apply heat onto enemies, which makes it easier for her to absorb them to get her ultimate back up much faster than most energy-hungry DPS units in the game. If your rotations are well optimized, you wouldn't need more than 2 battle skills for her ultimate to get full at potential 0. This is something that similar DPS like Fang Yi doesn't have access to at the time of making this video, because Perlica is the only teammate available for reliable electric infliction. And no, I did not forget about Antao's electric infliction in a Fang Yi team composition, but it can only be applied on one enemy, which reduces its value in multi-wave content, because multi-wave enemies don't have a lot of HP, and when they die, they take the mark that he applies with his skill, which can trigger his combo skill to the grave. Laevatain's teammates including Akakuri and Wolfguard can also apply heat in a wide area of effect, so you can inflict heat to multiple enemies with a single skill, which helps Laevatain absorb more heat inflictions to get her ultimate back up much quicker in multi-wave content, unlike other wide area of effects damage dealers like Fang Yi with teammates like Perlica whose electrification application can only be applied to one enemy. So if you're interested in a wide area of effects DPS with a focus on ease of playstyle, look no further than Laevatain. She can also easily sustain herself in fights because of this passive that ignores 90% of incoming damage and heals her continuously for 8 seconds when her health drops below 40%. 90% damage reduction is way too powerful in my opinion, but it's well balanced by having a cooldown of 2 minutes, which can be an issue if you constantly take damage in endgame. But if you're good at dodging, this passive is more than enough to depend on for survival, so it gets rid of putting units like Ardelia on the team for healing. Now, the quality of life traits that makes Laevatain an outstanding damage dealer does not stop there. I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably noticed this with Laevatain. Whenever you use her combo skill in her ultimate state, it actually prolongs the ultimate state by about 1 second, and when you use her enhanced skill with 4 stacks of Melt and Flame, it also pulses the ultimate state's duration. These two features are designed to help you keep her ultimate state for much longer if you can trigger more combustion and cast her enhanced skills more often, which is easy to do in multi-wave content because her third basic attack in the ultimate state can inflict heat to multiple enemies, and the final strike will absorb all of them, giving you 4 melting flame stacks within a very short amount of time to use her enhanced skill, which also triggers her combo skill to prolong the ultimate state's duration. The stopping of her ultimate state duration and gaining a few seconds when you use her combo skill in the ultimate state is actually designed to make her gameplay less punishing compared to other DPS units. Finally, she does not require crowd control capabilities due to her massive area of effect for doing damage, so she does not depend on other teammates like Gilberta for crowd control capabilities. I hope this review clears any doubts that you're having if you're planning to pick her up for the first time. And for those thinking of grabbing potentials, my best recommendation will be P1 because it reduces her SP cost by 20% whenever she uses her enhanced skill in her normal state or in the ultimate state as a quality of life change that makes her gameplay very smooth. Now let's move on to what you'll be missing in case you don't have Gilberta on your account. She's by far the strongest buffer in the game with the ability to provide up to 42% art susceptibility, so she's the go-to unit that you can rely on for all elemental teams. But this strong buffing capability is actually a bit niche because it mostly benefits burst DPS units that can do lots of damage within a very short amount of time like Tang, Rosie, Yvonne, and Last Rite. And she works insanely well with these DPS units, not just because of her art susceptibility buff that I mentioned earlier, but because of her crowd control capabilities, since DPS units like Rosie, Yvonne, and Last Rite are all single target focused DPS. If you take a look at all the Umbral monuments that we've had so far, it follows a trend where we mostly get multi-wave content in all the floors except the final one. So if your account is mostly made up of DPS units that do not have the ability to do consistent damage in a wide area of effect, you should prioritize getting Gilberta to help them with grouping enemies in one spot so that your DPS unit can take them out. Even special enemies like the purple ones on the 3rd floor of Turbidity Manifest that cannot be grouped or crowd controlled can still be slowed down with the slow effect from Gilberta's ultimate, which buys you enough time to get rid of them before they explode to do massive damage to you. And I'm not only looking at this from an endgame perspective. We spend majority of our time in Enfield doing overworld activities like farming materials that we use to do lots of stuff such as upgrading our essence pieces, characters, and weapons. Using a DPS unit like Yvonne in particular in the overworld can be very annoying and frustrating without Gilberta because enemies can split up way too easily and you have to chase them separately to eliminate them. And without Gilberta, it'll be difficult for them to stay in one place for Yvonne to constantly freeze them, which prevents them from splitting up. Now, keep in mind that you won't really experience this with units like Tang because her tornadoes that she creates with her skill will always seek and chase after enemies when the current enemy is eliminated while the tornado is still active on the field. But for units like Rosie and Last Rite, their ultimate ability, which is their main source of doing damage, locks them in a single spot in an animation where they are unable to do damage to nearby enemies that are separated. So my advice is to get Gilberta if you mainly play Rosie, Yvonne, and Last Rite to make things much easier for you in endgame content and the overworld. She also has this passive that grants a free 7% ultimate gain efficiency to casters, guards, and supports. It would have been really good if strikers like Yvonne, Fangy, and Laevatain were added to this passive since they are the most energy hungry units on the current roster, but it's still very useful for those that mainly play Tang, who's a caster, Rosie, who's a guard, and supports that really depend on their ultimate for buffing capabilities like Zahi. So the passive is not entirely useless. Now do keep in mind that support units like Gilberta don't really need their signature weapons unlike damage dealers, so it's fine if you cannot pick up a weapon. Just get yourself a copy of Stanza of Memorials to provide attack buff to the entire team when she casts her ultimate, and it's a 5-star, so it's quite easy for you to refine it with duplicates and get more attack buff from the passive. And that's pretty much all I have for you guys in this video concerning the Fest of Brilliance Rerun banners. I hope I made it a little bit easier to make a reasonable choice based on the units that you really need on your account. Our Discord link will be in the pinned comment if you're having any issues with Enfield or you just want a place to chill or hang out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.